Good afternoon. I'm Michael Popa, Executive Director of the Mainstream Coalition. I'm on behalf of myself and our team. Thank you for joining us today for Mainstream Live, our series of conversations with figures in Kansas politics, advocacy, and community building. For over 25 years, Mainstream Coalition has been advocating for common sense government and healthy communities in Kansas. You can learn more about Mainstream and our body of work at mainstreamcoalition.org. And while you're there, please consider joining. Each membership contribution goes a long way in supporting our advocacy and outreach efforts across the state. And now I would like to introduce my guest today, CEO and President of the Northeast Johnson County Chamber, Ms. Deb Settle.
Well, Michael, thank you for having me today. I'm honored to be here.
You're very welcome. I'm so glad that you're here as well. So just so everybody knows, I worked for the Northeast Johnson County Chamber right before I came to Mainstream. So the only way I could get my former boss to talk to me was to invite her onto a Mainstream Live.
Not true, but I'm still honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really glad that we're getting to talk today because there's a lot going on with businesses in Northeast Johnson County, especially related to this COVID pandemic. But first, how are you?
Doing well. A little different working environment, but doing well. Thanks for asking.
Good. Of course. So we have all heard of chambers of commerce, but not everyone knows what a chamber does. Could you tell us a little bit about chambers generally and the roles that they play?
I can. You know, it's one of the things that I love to talk about. And I sum it up in this way. A chamber is nucleus. We work with businesses, we work with our communities, cities, we work with our school district, and we work with citizens. And by doing that, and everyone working so well together, we're all stronger and healthier by doing so. And if there is ever a time that we need this, it is now. And after the last, 6-7 weeks, we're seeing how being great partners with each other truly does work.
So how is the NEJC Chamber unique in the way that it serves its community?
Go ahead.
No, but I'll let you say it.
Yeah, you could answer that. We're the only regional chamber in Johnson County. So we serve 10 cities. And I remember when I started 11 years ago with the chamber, I wonder if I'm ever going to remember to name all of them. And I can do it pretty much in my sleep now, but I'd like to share those with you. We represent Merriam, Mission, Fairway, Roland Park, Prairie Village, Mission Hills, Mission Woods, Westwood Hills, and the north part of Overland Park. So it's a large geographical area, and it gives us an opportunity to work with the city councils. As I mentioned earlier, working with our cities, we have 10 different mayors, 10 different city councils that we get to work with. And each of those cities has their own personality, which is good. But it makes a wonderful, tight region because we all work within each other. Here's a great example of that. Prairie Village has a police department, as does Mission Hills, but they share the services. So Mission Hills, when they see a police car going by, it says Mission Hills on the side of the car, but it's actually Prairie Village police officers that are in those cars. So it's a really good way to show how we do partner together.
Great. What other ways have you seen cities partner together within the chamber? I know there's a large, we do the large State of the City event.
Oh, isn't that a great event? You know, when in January, usually we pull all 10 cities together and give each mayor an opportunity to talk about their city. And just like I love to talk about the chamber, the mayors love to talk about their cities. And it tells again, across the region, how we are able to work together and then share the successes and share the challenges, because there are some of those as well.
Right. So how has COVID-19 affected the business community in Northeast Johnson County?
You know, I think I'm going to start with the answer to that by sharing a survey that we did with our members. In asking a lot of really relevant questions, one of them being, tell us how this has affected your business. And 77% of the respondents said that they're affected most by event cancellations. You and I running organizations as we do know exactly how hard that is for our organization. So that's been very detrimental to our businesses. Obviously, a decline in business, and then interestingly, supply chain. And we can all attest to that just by trying to find Clorox wipes. And can you imagine just taking that on down the line? How hard it has been to get some of the supplies that they need to run their business. Another question we asked them was, so how are you going to do your business? And 55% of the respondents said that they're able to take their work home and work remotely from home. So we know that we're just starting to slowly reopen. I think one of the things that we have found and will continue to find is that we are able to work from home for the most part. So I think we might see a little bit of a swing and shift in some people, maybe for a very long time before they go back to the office. Some might not ever go back to an office. I had a meeting this morning with Evergy, and they're saying that a lot of their employees might be August or later before they're reporting back in. So another thing that we talked about was, how long do you think it's going to take before you're back to regular business? And boy, if somebody had a crystal ball and could really answer that question, they would be a very popular person. But a third of the people are saying they think it's going to be 6 to 12 months. Another third is saying 3 to 6 months. So, as long as we continue to flatten the curve and do what we're responsible for doing and trying to keep everybody else healthy, I'm hoping it's on the other side of the 3 months, but anywhere from 3 to 12 months is what businesses are thinking it's going to take to get back to somewhat normal.
So a majority of the membership of the NEJC Chamber, 85%, is small business.
Absolutely.
How have they been weathering? Have you heard of any business closings?
Just one that has definitely closed, and it was a long-standing restaurant. I feel like Greg with Lucky's was kind of on the fence anyway, and this was just one of the last things that pushed him over, and he decided to go into retirement. We will definitely miss that business. He has been a long staple in Mission. But Popa, that's the only one I've heard so far that has totally decided to close. That doesn't mean that there's not more coming. Mm-hmm. I think that some of them are trying to get back to work and seeing if they can get back on their feet. Talking about this, one of the industries that was hit really hard was our hair salons. They didn't qualify for any of the funding, and it's been very difficult for them to get back. Just now starting to take appointments, and they're concerned because they want to stay healthy. They want to keep their clients healthy, but they've got to make a living too. So we've been trying to do everything we can to help not only the hair salons, but all of our businesses, really to try and keep them out in front of people. So if I may, I'll tell you a little bit about how we're doing that.
Sure.
As soon as this started, we said, as a staff, okay, we gotta figure this out quick. We don't have time to sit back and wait and see what's going to work. So we said, let's go out and try some things. One of the things that we did was started a current, which is a 3-minute, 3-question interview that our members can do. So I would lead the discussion very much like what you and I are doing here, and let them tell us about their business. And then they also helped educate our members. So the very first one we did was with KH Automotive. And he was on telling us, okay, so if we're going to be shut down for a while, what do you need to do with your vehicle? So it was very good because we were able to help promote his company, as well as he was able to help educate our members. I think that's been really important and really good. We've been doing webinars on a weekly basis with really relevant topics. So we've had an attorney talking about, as an employer and employees, what do we need to know? Is it safe to go back to work? We had a doctor from Advent Health come on and talk to us about, should we wear a mask? Is it important to do that? We've had marketing, we've had technology. It just to give you a wide variety of things that we're trying to make sure that we're helping to educate our members, again, on a timely and relevant basis.
And that's somewhat of a departure for chambers, let's say, or especially the Northeast Johnson County Chamber, because I would have to say what sets your chamber apart is the personal relationships, face-to-face interactions and connections. How have the Zoom, all of the Zoom calls and meetings and the internet activities, how have they compared to that in person?
Well, I'm going to tell you a story with that. We continue to do our networking because our networking is what we're known for. The relationship building. I always tell people when they're thinking about joining the chamber, we just soon hug you as shake your hand. And it's just who we are because we get to know our members and we become friends with them. And I always say, you want to do business with people that you trust and that are your friends. So that's the premise that we start with at Northeast Johnson County. Zoom has been an important part because otherwise we wouldn't have this at all. But I think a new word that we're going to see in the Webster Dictionary is Zoom fatigue. I think everyone is tiring a little bit, but we're willing to do it because we need that connection. We're humans, and I think it's so important that we stay connected to people. And again, that's what Northeast is good at, is really connecting and making sure that we're helping our businesses. So the other day I was making a deposit in the drive up at our bank, and two of our members were standing outside, one in a truck and one standing outside talking to him. I pulled up next to him and I rolled down my window and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how nice it is to be sitting in my car talking to you. I get to see your face. And it's important to keep those human connections. So we're going to keep working really hard at the chamber to provide all of that. We do the We're Talking Tuesdays, which is, again, our networking group, but we have after hours. We're trying to do things in the middle of the day so that all of our members have opportunities to get to something morning, noon, or evening. And then we're trying to record. Again, just like you, this is what makes sense because we're all working hard to try and get back. And if you can't do it during the day, at least you have the opportunity then in your free time to scope out and see what maybe might be pertinent for you.
Sure. So there's been a lot of changes in your service delivery as a chamber, but what about businesses? What member business service delivery or product delivery changes or adaptations have you seen?
Yeah, that's really a good question too. I'll start by saying, the chambers worked hard at the social media because that's how everyone is communicating right now. So we're primarily on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, we do some Instagram, and our communications person this morning was relaying some of the numbers, and they're astronomical. So it's telling us that it's working and it's good because we're out there to be able to help communicate, but not only to get the things out for the chamber, but as we see our members putting something out on one of the social medias, then we're sharing that because then it just explodes. More and more people get to see it that way. So if there's anything that comes out of this meeting today, if you're on social media, the best thing you can do to help businesses right now is go out and share their pages, their likes, their communications, because that's what they're needing now is people not to forget them. And when we get back out, let's make sure we're tipping people that haven't been able to receive any kind of paycheck for a while. So I'm going to give you an example, one of the businesses that I'm just really impressed with. Lulu's on Johnson Drive in Mission. She started up a year ago, and it's just a beautiful little boutique where she has well-loved clothes, and then she is an artist, so she sells some of her art there. And yesterday when I stopped in to check on her, she said, it's really, I didn't think there was going to be anything coming in. I thought the business was going to be shut down, and I wasn't sure we were ever going to be able to reopen our doors. And she was brilliant because she started selling online through Facebook. And her comment yesterday was, we're going to continue doing the online as well as open our boutique back up because it worked. So right now, being creative and coming up with new ideas. And I started off this conversation this afternoon with, you got to try things.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't work the first time, try something different. And if that doesn't work, don't give up, keep trying. And know the chambers here, we are so willing to figure out ways to brainstorm with you, again, to share through social media. We're here to help. So chamber has been a resource. Our website, we've kept that up to date. And I'll tell you a little bit of bragging. We were the first ones in Johnson County to put out a page on the website for businesses that were reopening. And we're proud of that. And we're working with members and non-members, because at this time, it is crucial that we're a team. And when I say that, I mean every walking person is trying to help the next person.
So it sounds like being involved in the chamber then, even on a personal level, so maybe I don't have a business, but going to the chamber website, looking up chamber businesses, all of that helps support the Northeast Johnson County business community.
Absolutely.
It's not just business to business when it comes to chambers.
You're absolutely right. You know, one of the other things that we haven't talked about yet, too, is how we work with elected officials.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the ways that you and I got to meet each other, because you were serving on the city council. And it's so important for us to stay in front of our elected officials so that we can be the voice of our business to our elected officials. And that's why the relationship that we have with Mainstream is so important as well. So I'm so thankful that all of this already exists and we're not having to try and figure this out like we are some of the other things. You know, something else, Popa, that I'm really excited to talk about a little bit today is how the community is coming together for each other. If I may,
Please.
I have some really very clear examples. Sally Milligan, that is the owner of Topper's Pizza, she's always been involved in the community, but what she has done for our first responders, they are constantly reaching out, taking pizzas over and feeding all of them and just saying thank you. But it doesn't stop with first responders. The way that she gives is an example of what we all need to be. Here's a really good one too. I got a phone call from 2 State Farm agents that are members of the chamber, and they said State Farm is a good neighbor, and they have created a community fund that they're giving $500 to each State Farm agent. And both of the ladies reached out to me, Julie Stoll and Denise Garcia, and said, Deb, what should we do with this? We know that you're going to have some ideas of who really needs this money. So I did a little bit of research, and Growing Futures, which, you know, has a very fond place in my heart.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
you froze up, so we didn't get the name of the business.
Okay, State Farm.
Nonprofit.
Growing Futures. They are always in need because they serve 0 to 5 and the entire family. And then another organization that Julie and Denise are going to give their community fund to is the Santa Fe Way Station, which is run by St. Mark's Methodist Church. They have been serving so many people that have never, ever needed to go and receive food. Thank goodness we have them to be able to do that. Here's another one, Jenny Smith with the City of Mission. She's been going out on Facebook and creating all of these crafts that kids staying at home and their parents can do together. I just think it's wonderful how everybody's finding different ways to help. The last but not least that I have that I really want to talk about is they had a Harvesters food truck up at Shawnee Mission North a week or 2 ago. Well, they're hosting another one this weekend. And I got a few stats from that. And now if there's any doubt how much need there is right now, this should help. They had 170 plus cars. They had over 880 people. And they had 10.5 tons of food. Is that incredible?
Wow.
So any way that you can help is very appreciated at this time.
And where would someone go to find out more information on the chamber, how they can get involved, how they can help support local business? We haven't discussed that yet.
Well, and I like to talk about that too. Obviously, you can call me because I do like to talk about it. And then our website, NEJCChamber.com, has all of the information out on the pages. So either way, but we'd love to have conversations.
Great. Tomorrow we are entering phase 2 because we've been talking a lot today about adapting, rallying, coming together, just how our business is doing in this time. So phase 2 reopening, what does that mean for the chamber and how you're going to conduct business going forward, at least throughout the phase?
You know, we're going to continue working from home for a while still. We decided we're going to be part of the solution because it's working for us. We're going to continue making lots and lots of phone calls because one of our goals has been to reach out to every member of the chamber to check on them. And it's time to start those calls again because we've made it through phase 1. Here we are in phase 2 now, getting ready to get started. And, you know, things might change. Hair salons are going back. The nail salons are back. The restaurants are starting to open. Some of the needs might start changing, but I don't know that I have a more specific answer till we really start getting into it as well.
Sure. It's got to be really tough, though, because I've seen the chamber grow a lot during this time, especially online, social media. The Tuesday, we're talking Tuesday,
right?
Really huge attendance on there. Can you tell people a little bit more about that? Because that's the chamber's signature event, if you will.
Sure. So we meet at Sylvester Powell when we're able to meet in person, and we average about 70 people at that meeting. What the really good news is with that is there's usually 5 to 10 new people at each meeting. So you're going to always have your core group of people that you can come interact with again. We always tell you, as soon as we see you walk through the door, we're going to recognize you as a new person coming to that meeting. So immediately there is somebody coming over to greet you and help take you around the room to introduce you to people. So even if you're a shy person, you don't have to worry about coming to one of these meetings because we'd love to bring you into the fold very quickly. You get 30 seconds to stand up and talk about your business and know what you want to talk about. It's plenty of time to get it out there, and every person in the room gets that opportunity to talk about your business. What we hear a lot of times, though, is people will get up and give testimonials about, you know what, I needed business cards and I had to have them the next day. And I thought, what am I going to do? Because I didn't get them ordered. And Jose Ramirez with Moss Printing, he'll do it for you. He can turn things around, but it's not so much even that. It's just the can-do attitudes that the people at the Northeast Johnson County have. And again, you know, we've already talked about this once, but it is back to being friends and wanting to take care of each other.
Sure. Well, taking care of each other. You mentioned first responders earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And, Consolidated Fire District number 2, as well as the city police department. Consolidated Fire District number 2, CFD2, is a member of the chamber. They're a pretty active member. What have you been hearing from them?
Yeah, well, not only active, but happens to be Chief Lopez is our chairman this year. So CFD2 is very involved, and he knows that it's important to be involved with the Chamber of Commerce because he needs to be able to get out, as well as all of his officers, to help people in the community understand what they do, and that helps keep them approachable. And this chamber gives them the opportunity to do just that. He is so involved. He makes sure that his officers are all visible. And then the same goes with the police department. And when you come to a We're Talking Tuesday meeting, they give each other a lot of grief. There is a lot of teasing going on, but the respect that the police department and the fire district have for each other is tremendous.
Sure. Have you heard anything from Chief Lopez about the front line right now? You know, what's happening out there for them anyway?
Yeah, and thank you for asking that too. You know, their business is to help keep people safe. So now let's turn that around, because as they're coming to take care of us, we need to make sure that we're taking care of them. So they go into a situation, it just needs to be as careful as possible. They've had a couple of scares, I think, and everything is fine with them, which is good. But to be around people that are sick, you do have to take a lot of precautions to make sure that that doesn't happen and go into your department. So
yeah, brave,
they're very
brave men
busy.
and women. I'm sorry.
They're very busy.
Yes, I'm sure. They are.
Very.
We talked a little bit earlier about Evergy. You met with Evergy today. I had mentioned and you mentioned most of the business in Northeast Johnson County Chamber is small business, and there are a lot of small businesses, but there are, you do have large businesses. Advent Health, you mentioned, Evergy, Kansas Gas, Script Pro. I know off the top of my head. How have they been dealing with this compared to the small businesses? Have you heard anything about, because, the small businesses are going to get hit one
Sure.
would think, right?
Right. So again, Evergy and Kansas Gas are so good about attending, like we're talking Tuesday, because that's where the majority of people are going to come so that they can be caught up. And both of the companies share how they have been working with the communities in helping people pay their bills. We're talking business here, but we also are very concerned for our citizens, because it's where you live, work, play, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate them taking their time to come and share with us what their companies are doing. And it's a pretty phenomenal, just like State Farm giving back to a community fund, so are Evergy and Kansas Gas and so many of the other big companies like that. So we're proud of them for doing it. I know they've also set up community funds that they're trying to reach out and help as many people as they can through all of this, not only with their utilities, but with food and other needs. So
right. Well, community's never been more important than it is right now. And the Northeast Johnson County Chamber definitely connects people and builds a sense of community. And not only for businesses, but as you mentioned, for the citizens and for governments. So thank you very much for everything that you're doing, everything you've been doing, and especially now during this time. We really appreciate it. Very much.
Popa, this was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course. I had a great time, and hopefully we can have you back on later and we can talk about a really positive business outlook in the next 6 months.
I'm big on parties, so let's celebrate when it's time to celebrate again.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
All right. Thanks again, Deb. We'll talk to you soon. All right. And please remember to visit mainstreamcoalition.org, where you can learn more about how to make an impact in this year's elections. One way is to walk with us. This year, we can't gather in a large group as we've done in the past, so we're bringing the walk to wherever you are. Walk the Vote is going virtual on Saturday, June 13th at 10 a.m. Learn more about our virtual walk and register your team today at walkthevote.org. Thanks again for joining us. Stay safe, and remember to do more than vote with Mainstream in 2020.